Alright, today's video is on dividing fractions, and when you're dividing fractions, the thing that I'm just going to start with for you is a little memory device that I call keep times and flip. Okay, keep times flip. Okay, keep times flip works really well when you are dividing one fraction by another. Okay, and this is just the process for dividing fractions. Okay, so let's say that you have 1/2 divided by 2/3. Okay, all right, so keep the 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to keep the first number, the 1/2. Okay, times, I am actually changing the division sign to a multiplication sign, and then flip, I am flipping the second fraction. Okay, and then when I am multiplying fractions, because now I have turned my division problem into a multiplication problem, I just do it. 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 2 is 4, and that is it right there. Keep times flip. Okay, there's a really long explanation about why that works, and I'm happy to show you in class, but I'm not going to explain it right here on the video. What I want to talk about next is dividing fractions and whole numbers. Okay, so dividing, and I'm going to specify here unit fractions. Okay, okay, hold on. Unit fractions and whole numbers. Okay, okay, because a lot of the problems that you're going to see this year involve either taking a whole number, like let's say 3, and dividing it by a unit fraction, a fraction with 1 for the numerator, or taking a unit fraction and dividing it by a whole number. Okay, and I'm going to be really honest with you, trying to kind of picture these things is really challenging for me, and that's why I started with keep times flip. Okay, because let's start with 3 divided by 1/3. Okay, so your first step, if you're dealing with whole numbers, okay, so let's go ahead and step 1. Okay, step 1 is make everything a fraction. And you make everything a fraction by showing whole numbers, and then use the number sign there, whole numbers with a denominator of 1. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, do you remember, and maybe you don't, but do you remember ever working with these things called fraction bars? And there was like a whole bar that had a 1 on it, and then there were 2 of these half bars with, you know, the word half on it, and then there were 3 of these 1/3 bars. Let's see if I can get the size right. Okay. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and so forth. Okay, well, if you remember that, this bar right here is the one I'm focusing on. That one bar, like if you have one of those, you have one whole. Okay, so 3 whole is the same as 3 over 1. It's 3 of these 1 bars. Okay, and then step 2 is keep times flip. Okay, so come down here. Again, I'm doing 3 divided by 1/3. Okay, so 3 over 1 is the same as 3. Okay, so I've taken this one, okay, and then divided by 1/3. Okay, keep times flip. Okay, keep 3 over 1 times flip. And then, now that I'm multiplying, I just do it. 3 times 3 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1. Okay? And now, funnily enough, I have a fraction that is 9 over 1. And just like 3 over 1 was the same as 3, 9 over 1 is the same as 9. And I have to turn this into 9. The computer is not going, or I are not going to accept 9 over 1 as an answer. Okay? So 3 divided by 1/3 equals 9. I know, crazy, right? I'm actually going to draw you a picture up here, but first I want to go ahead and do 1/3 divided by 3. Okay, so again, step 1, make everything a fraction. So I already had 1/3, and then I'm doing divided by, and then I'm writing 3 as 3 over 1. Okay, so again, that's just these two things are the same. Okay, and then keep times flip. Okay, so we keep 1/3 times flip. 3 over 1 becomes 1/3, and then I just do it. 1 times 1, 1. 3 times 3, 9. Okay, so 1/3 divided by 3 equals 1/9. Okay, because that can't be simplified. Unit fractions can never be simplified. Okay, so this right here is how you do the math. Okay, what I need you to know next is what this would look like with pictures. But I'm going to stop this page right here and say this is the math. This is how you would deal with the numbers, okay, when dividing fractions and when dividing unit fractions and whole numbers.